Have you ever been scared when you've entered an old empty house? Imagine it. The wooden floor makes noise under your feet and the sound fills the empty space. The air smells old and dusty. Cobwebs hang over old furniture, their thin threads shining in the weak moonlight that comes through the covered-up windows. Every shadow seems to move, each one scarier than the one before. This is a place where stories stay to be told. Each room is like a part of the story, filled with scary words that would make your heart beat faster. Picture the fear, the waiting, the thrill that this spooky place makes you feel. These are not just feelings, but strong words, each one a key to understanding the English language better. And so our story starts in this spooky empty house. In the dark, there was something we couldn't see, something strange and not from this world. This thing, barely there, moved quietly. It felt like time had stopped. The air felt thick and heavy, and the quiet was full of unspoken words. As we go into the story, notice how we use different times and ways of speaking. The past perfect tense, for example, is used to talk about things that happened before something else in the past. When we say the unseen thing had moved before the clock hit midnight, we mean that the thing moved first, and then the clock hit midnight. The unseen thing kept moving in the dark, barely making a sound. The simple past tense, like in that last sentence, is used to talk about things that finished happening. At the same time, things started to move by themselves. Chairs slid across the floor, doors squeaked open, and lights blinked in a scary way. This is the present continuous tense, used to talk about things happening right now. Even with all this strange stuff happening, there was a weird feeling of peace. The unseen thing seemed to be looking for something, maybe a reason for being there or a way to show itself. This is an example of the present perfect tense, used to talk about something that started in the past and is still happening now. But as it got darker, the unseen thing seemed to get more nervous, moving around more quickly. The future tense, used here, talks about things will happen soon. As the story goes on, we see that the unseen thing isn't alone. Other strange things start to appear. Each one is a different part of the unseen thing, a different part of the mystery to be solved. It looks like the unseen thing wasn't alone. Suddenly, a cold wind blew through the room, like something we couldn't see had quickly moved past. It felt like an invisible thing had quietly entered, making the room feel colder than before. The air felt heavy, almost hard to breathe, and it was very quiet. Just think about this, folks. You're sitting comfortably, maybe drinking a cup of hot tea, when suddenly the calm is broken. The wind rushes through the room, moving papers around and making the curtains flap wildly. It's like a ghost decided to show itself without any warning. Quite scary, right? Now let's move this creepy scene to a library, a place we usually think of as quiet and full of knowledge. Think about being caught up in a great book, completely lost in its world. Out of nowhere, books start falling off the shelves, landing all around you. The quiet, peaceful place is instantly changed into a scene of mess and confusion. Or imagine this, walking alone on an empty road late at night. The only sound is the crunch of gravel under your shoes. All of a sudden, you hear a whisper, a soft sound carried by the wind. You turn around quickly, but there's no one there. The whisper seems to repeat in your ears, making you feel curious, and back in our first scene, the wind stops as quickly as it had started. The room goes back to being calm, but you still feel a bit uneasy. You can't get rid of the feeling that you've just seen something strange, something that doesn't make logical sense. These situations, while scary to think about, can make for great stories, right? They draw us in, making us part of the story, letting us feel the excitement and the fear and leaving us wanting more. The creepy experience leaves a strong memory, doesn't it? As the moonlight came through the broken window, a scary secret was revealed. In the quiet of the night, a story from the past bounced around the empty rooms, sharing secrets that had been for a long time. This place used to be filled with laughter and happiness, but now it's silent, a witness to a story that's both scary and sad. A family lived here, their lives tied to this house, but they disappeared with no warning, and their absence has been a puzzle for the town for many years. The moonlight showed an old diary on the dusty floor. Its pages, turned yellow over time, held the truth about what happened to the family. This house wasn't just a building. It held memories and told a story of love, loss, and regret. As we read the diary, we can start to understand English better. The diary, written so well, is a great example of English at its best. Each sentence is like a puzzle, a lesson to learn. The diary tells the family story, and with it, shows the beauty of English. The dad, an English teacher, was good with words. His love for English showed in his diary entries. His words created clear pictures of their happy days. But as time went on, his writings became sadder, reflecting the sadness they were going through. The mom poet used her poems to tell of her sadness. Her poems, filled with comparisons, showed the rough feelings they had to deal with. The diary let us see into their world, a world where English was their comfort, their way of expressing themselves, their light in the darkness. Their story showed the power of words, the power to share feelings, to tell stories, to touch hearts. The mystery is beginning to be solved, but the story isn't over. In the exciting last moments, the scary truth was finally shown. The hidden creature, the strange events, and the ghostly surprises all showed us this creepy ending. In our scary tale, we've gone through the maze of English language, seeing how easy and hard it can be. Remember when we started with easy sentences? The room was cold. The wind howled. Each word, each sentence was like a block, making our story more and more creepy. Then we moved on to longer sentences, making our story more interesting. The door slowly opened, and a cold wind blew into the room. The word "and" connected two ideas, showing us more of the spooky place. And let's not forget when we looked at longer sentences. Even though she was scared, she walked into the room. Here, the part "even though she was scared" added an extra sense of fear, making the story even more scary. But our story wasn't just about scaring and shocking. It was a trip through the English language, a language that can create a creepy world with easy, longer, and even longer sentences. A language that can make your heart jump, your breath stop, and make you feel really scared. And the scary truth? It wasn't the hidden creature or the strange events. It was the power of English language, the ability to scare you using just words. Words that made a picture so clear, so scary that it felt real. And so our trip through the scary tale in the English language is done. We've faced the hidden creature, the strange events, the ghostly surprises, and learned more about the English language. And so the ghostly tale ends, leaving us a bit scared and knowing more about the English language. Now that we've finished this scary story, let's think about what we've learned. Our spooky trip took us through a maze of English lessons, each more interesting than the last. We saw the power of descriptive words making bright images of our ghost hero and his spooky world. From the scary ghost to the moving shadows, we used our words to make our story real. We got really good at verb tenses, smoothly moving between past, present, and future to keep our story going. Our sentences were different in structure, some short and sudden like a quick scare, others long and twisting like a dark lost hallway. Adverbs gave feeling and hurry to our story, while prepositions showed us the way through the ghostly world. Hard sentences, with their parts and linking words, gave more depth and surprise to our story, keeping us hooked. Thank you for coming with us on this spooky trip through the English language. Don't forget to subscribe for more scary lessons.